Chat truth to power. So Macaroni's in the middle of a press conference. I just caught wind of it, so turn this on. We've been making a lot of changes the last couple of days, so the audio levels are going to be interesting. If you're out there and you're watching and you jump into the chat room, let me know if the audio levels are off. We'll make some adjustments. Macaroni should be pretty loud here. I've got her turned up quite a bit. And we will get going as soon as I see someone is here. Yes, okay, people are starting to jump into the room. So if you'd like to chat, the best way to do it is to go to youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. If you are in one of those chat rooms, if you could do me the kindness of just saying hi, then I know that the chat window is working. There we go. Barb is in YouTube, and Barb said hi, so let's get going here. If you're on Twitter, there are several people on Twitter already. Just say hi if you're on Twitter. Noel, good to see you. Stephanie, happy birthday! Happy birthday to you, Stephanie. No, there was no live stream yesterday, but I'll tell you this, Stephanie, I spent most of the day getting ready for the charity, the Brooks and Bricks charity that we're doing on the 3rd. I did that yesterday, making all sorts of changes and figuring out how things work. Hi, Ruth Ann. I did that in your honor, Stephanie. So I did want to do something for your birthday. I just didn't tell you about it. So happy birthday, Boxing Day. Let's get going with the presser right here. Here's Kaylee Macaroni.
When the Trump administration arrives in a Democrat-run city engulfed in chaos, peace is restored, law and order is upheld. Washington, D.C., New York, Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Kenosha. All of these cities are Democrat-run. All of these cities have experienced anarchy, violence, and destruction in recent days, the opposite of a peaceful protest. This is the reality facing American cities and towns across the country. This is not hypothetical. These are real people and real lives that have been impacted. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler rejected federal law enforcement in an irrational and tone-deaf letter. Mayor Wheeler might have thought he put political points on the board, but the very next day, a protester was shot and killed on the streets of his city. Before the Trump administration took action in Kenosha, businesses were burned, property damaged, and chaos was rampant. Then, nearly 1,000 National Guard troops and 200 DOJ personnel were deployed at the request of local officials. President Trump showed up, and law and order arrived.
Local Democratic officials, just FYI.
Nationally, according to the DOJ, 300 have been arrested and 302 charged amid riots and unrest. Democrats are late to the game. I've stood behind this podium and highlighted this issue for months. While this president is always willing to show up, it is incumbent on Democrats to step up.
Democrats? So that's a new level of low.
Invite federal law enforcement in. We stand ready. Do not tolerate anarchy, violence, and destruction. Rioting is not right. Secure your streets. President Trump will visit Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow. This president will show up. He will go to cities where Americans are hurting. And with that...
And the mayor has already requested that he not show up.
I'll take questions.
They're kind of busy in Kenosha right now, and the cops have all been working triple overtime to try and control the situation in Kenosha. But yeah, let's send in the president. If you've ever had a president visit your little village, it takes a hell of a lot of resources. Streets have to be closed. There's a big I mean, it's ridiculous.
Caitlin.
So he's going to Kenosha tomorrow. Does the president have any plans currently to meet with Jacob Blake's family?
Currently, the plans are to meet with local law enforcement and some business owners, and he'll survey the damage. But there will be more detailed plans forthcoming that are announced.
Okay, so no, he's not scheduled to meet with them.
Not currently.
And I know that there's been outreach from the White House. Who has the White House reached out to in Jacob Blake's family, and why has there not been able to been a connection made since he was shot and hospitalized?
So I refer you to what the Chief of Staff's office has tweeted. They've detailed that outreach, and part of it has been to the pastor and part of it directly to the family. Yes, Ben.
Haley, the president was asked on Friday if he thought the shooting of Jacob Blake was justified, and he said that he didn't like the sight of it, but that he was going to learn more about it. Now that a couple of days has passed, does the president think this shooting was justified or unjustified?
I'd refer you back to the president's remarks. There's an investigation.
Literally the spokesman for the president, who on Saturday said that, yes, within the next 24 or 48 hours, which would be now, he would learn more about the situation. He would get a full report. but now there's no comment apparently.
Ongoing. So I spoke to him earlier and he was not willing to weigh in more than he had, but he'll have a briefing this afternoon that you can ask him more about.
So based on what he's seen, he doesn't have any further thoughts on whether that's appropriate.
I'd refer you back to his comments over the weekend and just say there's an ongoing investigation.
Just one other thing. Does the president condemn the actions of Kyle Rittenhouse, who is accused of shooting some of the protesters?
The president is not going to, again, weigh in on that. You can ask him this evening. He may weigh in further, but at the moment, he's not weighing into that. Yes.
17-year-old brought a gun across state lines, brandished that gun, shot 2 protesters and killed them. But no, not going to make any comment at this time.
Did the president like a tweet that said the alleged shooter Kyle Rittenhouse was a good example of why I decided to vote for Trump? Can you help us understand?
Well, I think I did ask him about that tweet and the like in particular, and he just wanted to bring some attention to some of the details that aren't as well known in that case, that the individual was being attacked and that one of the individuals who arrived on the scene did have a gun. So there were some details that were not public or as public as they should be, so he was referring to that with the like.
Does he want his supporters to show up and do similar?
Of course, and the president roundly condemns violence in all of its forms. Yes.
Haley, on the Director of National Intelligence briefings with The Hill, the president said the information leaked was wrong. So if that's the case, how can it be considered sensitive information?
Yeah, so if you guys missed that, Trump said that they're not going to do in-person briefings on Capitol Hill anymore from the intelligence agencies because there were so many leaks last time. The leaks last time he's talking about is when Ratcliffe, whose name really gives it away, went in and had briefings, and then afterwards it was reported that Russia wanted Trump to win. Like, I don't know how that's a leak. But so Trump said that classified information was leaked and that it was wrong, which if you're leaking the wrong information, you're not really leaking any classified. It just doesn't make any sense. But that's the question.
The president, are you referring to the July 31st briefing? Yes. So the president has been very clear, and more clearly Director Radcliffe, in saying that leaks for political purposes are not to be tolerated. We will fulfill statutory obligations, but leaks on private briefings to Congress should not be tolerated.
Yeah, so Ratcliffe yesterday was on Sunday Morning Futures and said that there were classified information, referring to that information specifically, that Russia wants Trump to win. So Trump was very upset that that information got out there, and also it was false. Like, Trump just can't handle, if yes, the leak is that Russia wants me to win, but it's not true. It's not true. Okay, well, he's got his cake and he's eating it too.
Just one follow-up, please. How long will the oral briefings be off the table? Is this a permanent decision or just through the election?
I'd refer you to ODNI, but they've been very clear that they'll fulfill their statutory obligation, but they will not participate in partisan leaking. Yes.
Thanks, Kaylee. I have two for
Hi, New York Spanish.
you on TikTok. The first is that China has said they're going to require TikTok's parent company to sign off, to obtain government sign off on any sale of its U.S. business. Is the White House willing to accept such a sale that's subject to Chinese approval?
Negotiations are ongoing on a sale of TikTok, so we are not going to get in the way of those negotiations by providing comment on this. But the administration is committed to protecting the American people from all cyber-related threats to critical infrastructure, public health and safety. And these apps, as I've detailed from the podium before, collect significant amounts of private data on users, which can be accessed and used by the PRC. And that's going.
The second question is on the timeline here. There's some confusion among buyers. There was one order that said there would be a 45-day deadline.
I understand that. TikTok collects information, and then that can be used by the Chinese Communist Party, which is wrong. The correct way is to have your campaign manager take the information about all the patriots who might be voting, give that information to a Russian agent, and let the Russian government use that data to manipulate the election. That's the right way to do it.
Deadline for TikTok to stop transacting business in the U.S., and then another said there was a 90-day deadline for TikTok's owner to divest. So Can you just clear that up for the market? You know, what's the actual deadline?
If you'd like to chat along, please do. If you'd like to just watch, that's also great. We do have an active chat community. Right now, it looks like the best way to do that is youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. That's the fastest feed. Congratulations to David for being the 15th person to be first today.
I'd have to check into that, but I'll check in and get back with you about the discrepancy there. Yes, Jeff.
Caitlin, thank you. Broadly, what does the president want to achieve by going to Kenosha tomorrow, and what is his or the White House's response to local and state leaders encouraging him not to come?
Hold on, let me check the binder. The president would like to achieve the result of winning the election to keep himself out of jail. Next.
This time.
So, two things. First, the president wants to visit hurting Americans. He shows up just like he showed up this weekend in Louisiana and Texas in response to Hurricane Laura. So he wants to show up in the city that's hurting. And also, I think it's just...
If he wants to help hurting Americans, throw a dart, quite honestly, directly into himself. I don't know an American right now that isn't hurting.
Important to note that our federal response, look, in Kenosha and Minneapolis, there was violence on the streets. And
no, fashionista Joanna, we did not talk about that dress yet, but go for it.
Literally within 24 hours, you saw a turnaround when federal officials came in. So I think highlighting that the federal government has done a lot in the way of using law and order to create peace, but showing up for hurting Americans is the primary concern.
Just to follow up on that, like he didn't show up in Portland, where there were also protests that he talked about a lot. Is it not also because Wisconsin is such an important political state?
The president's showing up to see hurting Americans. He goes to several states each and every week, and this is another one in a long line of...
All of them swing states. And by the way, when he's showing up in Texas, there's a problem for the president.
Many. Yes.
Haley, coronavirus infections have now reached 6 million in the U.S., over 180,000
We did it!
dead.
6
Why
million!
is the president retweeting a report over the weekend that appeared to suggest the death toll was much lower than that?
The president's...
He believed the number is low.
The president was referring to a CDC, new information that came out from the CDC that showed that 94% rather of cases of fatalities were not just COVID alone. There was another comorbidity or extenuating matter. So he was just pointing to those numbers, but we are encouraged to see a drop in cases, deaths, hospitalizations, and very encouraged that we have one of the lowest case fatality rates in the world. In fact, ours is 3.1%. EU and UK together is 10.5%. So we're encouraged that our therapeutics are working and saving lives thanks to the hard work of President Trump tearing down bureaucratic barriers.
Number is he trying
It was thanks to the president for that. Okay.
to downplay the death toll?
So 200,000 Americans dead thanks to the president.
And
No, he was highlighting new CDC information that came out that was worth noting. Yes.
I want to ask you about one of the president's other tweets this weekend. He took a video or retweeted a video of a caravan of people driving into Portland with Trump and American flags flying. He called them great patriots. What about that image does the president see as patriotic? And ostensibly you're talking about people going into a city in which they don't live, presumably to protect property they don't own. What's patriotic about that activity?
The president was highlighting that these were good Americans going in to peacefully be a part of a protest and show their voice. And, you know, that's what he was noting by the tweet and highlighting the video, which he routinely does.
So shooting unarmed people with a paintball gun, peaceful.
The video of them scuffling, shooting paintballs at people, getting in the mix with people, is that patriotic activity?
I don't think the president's seen that video, nor have I, but if you're going to ask about paintball...
I tweeted it to him, so they just, if it's bad, they just haven't seen it. I don't know, it's not, if he watched something besides Fox and OAN.
It's incredible that for 90 days I've stood at this podium talking about officers who have been lasers flashed in their eyes in an attempt to blind them, commercial grade fireworks being thrown at them, a church right out here burning down, the people that were harassed and yelled at, Senator Rand Paul, Dan Bongino right out here.
A church right out here being burned down, even though it's still standing, but there was a fire in the basement. The peaceful protesters right outside here being tear gassed, but I probably shouldn't. OAN, you had a question?
And you're going to ask me about a paintball video when in fact for 90 days we've seen horrific violence by Antifa, a radical anarchist organization. You're going to ask...
Yes, we're going to ask you about a paintball video of Trump supporters shooting unarmed Americans multiple times with paintballs, which, by the way, I love paintball. It's a hell of a lot of fun. And every time I go to paintball, they make me wear eye protection. Why? Because you can be blinded by paintballs. So here's the first thing she's going to say. Hey, there were officers and lasers being aimed at their eye. They could have been blinded. But paintballs, which can blind people, you're going to talk to me about people being blinded? Those police officers could have been blinded. Yeah, literally apples and apples. Okay, it's not literally apples and apples. I mean, it's not literally. You get what I'm saying there. Do you see what I mean? Because they're going to be blinded and I'm a dad, so I make those kind of jokes. If you'd like to support more dad jokes, go to kevinleefather.com, become a patron. Let's get back to it.
Ask me about a paintball video I've yet to see, and neither has the president. Fantastic.
I'm going to ask you about it, but you maintain that the people who went into the city to conduct that activity, they are
The president's never seen that video. I don't even know if the people that you're referring to were a part of the paintball activity. But look, there's been 90 days of violence from left-wing anarchists. It's incredible that today is the one time you're interested in a violence when it's paintballs, and we don't even know who set off these paintballs, but you fail to ask for 90 days about violence from an anarchist organization.
Why don't all the reporters just have iPad? Like, I have it on my phone. I have that paintball video on my phone. And I could literally hold it up to her right now. I could just say, give me 1 second. I'm going to find that paintball video for you. Here it comes. I go to my video section, and here it is. Literally, I have a paintball video for you. And I'm going to play the paintball video for you. Here's the paintball video. They're in a truck with a Trump flag on it. And they literally shoot a bunch of people. That's tear gas. So the next guy shot tear gas. The first guy, let me move. Oh, I have to move it over for you. Hold on. It's going to play again. Just there. And here's the guy, the Trump supporter, shooting everybody with paintballs. And he's got a Trump 2020 flag. And then the next guy comes with another truck. Trump. I mean, that's the video. It is all over the internet. And reporters, if there's a reporter watching, have that. Have the biggest iPad, or go with an Android because, Anyway, it's way cheaper and you can do much more with it. You can put an SD card in there. And anyway, have that ready. Have a 17-inch one or a Microsoft Surface or what. Oh, I have that video. Here you go. There, take a look. See how the Trump supporter has the Trump flags? It's the same people that you tweeted, what great patriots, riding it, the same convoy with all those pickup trucks.
Because it happens to be on the left. Francesca.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. The president is also traveling this week to Wilmington.
There are very bad people on many sides. That's all you have to say.
North Carolina. He could celebrate the end of World War II in any city in America. So why is he traveling specifically to Wilmington? Why is that the place that he is choosing to designate as the first heritage city site for World War II? And is this related in any way to the fact that North Carolina is considered a must-win state for the president and the fact that absentee by mail voting starts this week on Friday?
No, there's not a political purpose in this visit. This president's visiting it to commemorate a great site in American history. Yes.
Specifically selected that.
Yes.
Kaylee, a federal judge in Georgia last week became the latest to rule against the administration denying citizenship to gay couples.
It would be no problem to just admit that he's going to swing states because they're swing states. Everyone knows how this works. Well, North Carolina is a very important state in the upcoming election. We do have an election that we're running, and we're really hoping to come across out of that election as victors for the good of the American people, so that President Trump can continue his blah, 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 lower tax cut, blah, 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 blah. Like there would be no problem with just admitting the truth there. But they just can't. You cannot admit that a politician is doing political things. Like, that's what they do. But everything has to be denied coming from the press. Everything.
All right, the administration denying gay.
Is there a reason that he's going to North Carolina to celebrate the end of World War II? Yes, we haven't seen that video. OAN?
Gay couple citizenship for their children born overseas by a surrogate. Yet the Justice Department continues to appeal these cases. How can the administration claim to be part of its LGBTQ record when it's litigating against these couples?
So if you're a military member and you have a kid overseas or in another country, for example, John McCain, born in Panama, Ted Cruz, not even a military member, his dad was in oil, but he was born to an American citizen living in, they were living in Calgary at the time. That's in Canada. That's the place up north that we used to be able to go visit. You're still an American citizen if you're born to American parents. So what happened was a gay couple living overseas adopted an American or a child, and Trump's department decided to deny that child American citizenship because it was a gay couple. It wasn't a married heterosexual couple. And of course, the courts just a couple of days ago said, yeah, no, that's an American kid. What the hell are you talking about? And now they're appealing it, apparently.
Pertain to surrogacy, and it had nothing to do with the sexual orientation of the parents. And this administration and president will proudly stand on our record of achievements, like leading a global initiative to end the criminalization of homosexuality throughout the world, launching a plan to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030, and easing a ban on blood donations from gay and bisexual men.
But the federal judge has ruled the interpretation of that law is not correct, and that there's statutory and constitutional concerns.
Again, for anything further, I'd refer you to the State Department. Yes.
What is the message of the White House to the people who are still protesting in the street in Belarus despite threats?
Yeah, it's an important question, and we'll always stand on the side of freedom and democracy. We continue to follow the developments in Belarus closely, and we support international efforts to look independently into electoral irregularities, human rights abuses, and the government crackdown. And the massive number of Belarusians protesting peacefully makes clear that the government can no longer ignore the people's call for democracy, and Russia must also respect Belarus's sovereignty and the right of its people to elect their own leaders freely and fairly.
Yes. Thanks, Kaylee. The president at a campaign rally Friday night talked about the possibility, of declaring an insurrection over the rioting. Does he believe there's an insurrection going on, and if so, what's holding him back?
So the president does not want to invoke the Insurrection Act, which has been used very sparingly. But what he does want is to help these cities where he can. And when you see Kenosha, when federal forces came in, there was peace in Minneapolis. And in both of those cases, it was at the invitation of the governor. So we want to work collaboratively with Democrat mayors and governors. They, after all, do hold the police power as embedded in the Constitution to control their...
If you want to work collaboratively with somebody, call them by their actual name. I'm just saying.
Streets, but we as a federal government are willing to supplement.
You mentioned the person who was killed in Portland last weekend. He was a Trump supporter. Does the president feel like Portland right now is too dangerous for his supporters? Should they stay away from the city?
The president believes that people of all ideologies should be able to peacefully protest and not have their lives put at risk, like Aaron J. Danielson, who lost his life. Noteworthy that his suspected killer said he was, quote, 100% Antifa and ready for, quote, war. Unacceptable. Yes.
Thanks, Kaylee. I wanted to follow up on what Catherine was asking about the coronavirus numbers. Given that they're going up, is the president rethinking and urging to reopen schools? And what is the administration's message to parents who might be worried about sending their kids back to class among these rising numbers?
So first of all, there's been a drop in cases, deaths, and hospitalizations. In fact, since the peak in July, we saw a 38% decrease in the 7-day average of cases. So numbers are going down. It's paramount.
We're also testing quite a bit less. That's part of it, yes. And yeah, people are scared. And so they limit themselves in terms of their activity. And just as we've seen in France the last couple of weeks, in Spain, when you open up, when you have more activities with more people together, the virus will spread. New Zealand was done with it. And then the virus started spreading again. Stay away from people. It's really very simple. But we can't. It's like, everybody get out there. Come on to the rally. We're having an RNC. Everybody get together at the White House. Let's have a super spreader of it. It's over and over and over again around the world. You open things up more. It's not even a question of opening things up more. It's people not doing social distancing. And the virus spreads. That's literally what the virus does. That's why the virus exists.
that students have the option to go back to school, that parents have a choice to send their kids back to school. And as Dr. Redfield said, CDC.
But the teachers do not have a choice.
Director, I think we have to be honest that the public health and interest of students in the nation right now is to get a quality education and face-to-face learning. We need to get on with it and give parents this option. There are a lot of consequences for schools staying closed, and I've walked through a number of those. Ganesh.
Thanks, Haley. Two quick questions. The first is Kellyanne Conway, sorry for my voice being a little scratchy, but
no worries.
Kellyanne Conway said the more chaos and anarchy and violence reigns, the better it is for the very clear choice of who's best on public safety and law and order. Does this president, is he rooting for more violence for the political benefit? That's what Kellyanne Conway's quote is suggesting. Democrats say that the president thinks violence works in his political favor.
Absolutely not. He is not rooting for more violence in the slightest.
But that is exactly what Kellyanne said. I can play it for you.
And in fact, I would note that under his administration, we saw violent crime nationwide decrease in both 2017 and 2018 after rising during each of the two.
And then in 2019, what happened? Is there
previous years? We're encouraged that Operation Legend is working. In Kansas City, violence has been cut by a third. In Indianapolis, we've gotten 49 guns off the streets in 2 weeks that were related to gun violence.
Helps make his case for re-election.
No one wants to.
Oh, okay. So now we're going to do things about guns. Apparently, now we're on the same page. So fantastic.
To see the violence that we've seen in our cities, where after 2 years of coming down under President Trump in Portland, you have a 650% increase in murders. In Seattle, you had the first 8-month totals of murders almost surpassing the entire amount in 2019. And this is because of the defund the police movement. This is because of the criticism of our police officers and the drawing.
In neither city have the police been defunded.
Down of funds for these officers. No one wants to see this, which is why the president is fighting against that movement, and it's why
they like to talk about the murders in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, rapes are down 25% since last year, and yet defund the police.
He's fighting for.
Here's the thing. In their minds, what's happening is that people decide they're going to murder somebody, and then they'll be like, you son of a bitch, I'm going to end your... Oh, hold on. Do you know, is the mayor of this city Republican or Democratic? Is it... what? Oh, Democrat. Okay, you're dead. Bang. No, we have a Republican mayor, actually. Well, independent, but mostly right-wing. Oh, well, okay. Have a good day, sir.
For a robust Operation Legend response that's proved successful so far.
Why hasn't the president just said Americans shouldn't be taking their own weapons to try to protect the buildings and condemning the idea of people kind of deputizing themselves? And does this White House believe that citizens should stop showing up to cities, especially the ones they don't live in, to have guns to protect buildings?
This White House believes our police should be fully funded. We should have more police rather than less. We shouldn't criticize our police because it is our police officers who are responsible for taking to the streets and protecting us. And when they're called...
That's also Biden's position.
Cancers by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, when they're compared to the KKK by a current sitting vice presidential candidate, it's appalling. It's despicable. We need to fund our police officers because they should be the ones out patrolling the streets. Yes, Chanel.
Thank you, Kaylee. What is the president's position on victims, families, businesses?
I'm gonna pause here for a second. I'll show you guys what Kellyanne said. Hold on, I'll make it bigger.
The president ever said something like that. For us, it's very clear here from Kellyanne Conway. She said, the more chaos and anarchy and vandalism and violence reigns, it's better for us. It's a very clear choice it presents for us.
Stop. That the more chaos and anarchy and vandalism and violence reigns, the better it is for the very clear choice on who's best on public safety.
Now, when has a president or a spokesperson for president ever said something like that?
Yeah, Kellyanne you just said okay, quiet. Kellyanne literally said that the more chaos and violence reigns, the better it is for Trump. That's what she said.
As a result of these riots, suing Democrat-run cities.
Hold on. Here's
as the president?
Police officers, because they should be the ones out patrolling the street.
Here comes OAN. No, I don't think I'll be doing Biden next. Sorry, I have to. My car's air conditioning is leaking water down into the car itself, which is not what's supposed to happen. So I have to go bring my car in, which is a good distance away. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that. And then at 3 o'clock, I have a meeting for Books and Bricks, the charity that we've been working with, that we've been raising money for. They were having a big event on October 3rd, and today at 3 o'clock, we're supposed to be doing some kind of dry run. And that's what I was working on all yesterday for Stephanie's birthday. So I hope what we'll do, I'll try and squeeze in like the president's press conference later today, maybe after 3 o'clock Pacific time. We'll try and get all that stuff in. But in honor of Stephanie, I'll be doing the charity meeting, which you guys won't be part of, but you'll be there in spirit. And then hopefully later financially as well. By the way, for those of you just joining us, the wonderful folks in the chat room, the wonderful folks who watch, those who chat, those who don't, on my birthday, August 13th, we raised enough money to send a Kenyan girl to school for 4 years. To high school for 4 years. In fact, we raised more money than enough. So that money will go to Books and Bricks Global, booksandbricks.org, which is a wonderful charity organization that pays for kids to go to school in Africa, in Kenya, which is where, of course, our last president was born. So there's that connection right there, and that's important.
Streets. Yes, Chanel.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Kaylee. What is the president's position on victims, families, businesses, as a result of these riots, suing Democrat-run cities? Would he support them if they were to band together and do so?
I haven't spoken to him about that specifically, but certainly what you're seeing is it is Democrat cities where you're seeing all
Democratic.
All of these numbers increase. When you look at, I just noted to Yamiche, Portland, Seattle, Philadelphia, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York City, these have all seen anywhere from a 33% spike in the murder rate to a 277% increase in 1 month alone in New York City. It's appalling, and it is Democrat governors and mayors and
Democratic
lawlessness that they're allowing to prevail. When federal forces come in, the situation changes. And it's so interesting to me to see Democrats who once disparaged, who ignored the violence.
Disparaged? Does anybody say it that way? Is that, I don't know. I say disparaged, but does anybody know anyone who says disparaged?
I should say, all of a sudden caring about it. But let's not forget what they said previously. Speaker Nancy Pelosi downplaying the violence rocking U.S. cities, ignorantly saying people will do what they do. Jerry Nadler, when asked about Antifa, he said that was a myth that's being spread around Washington, D.C. It's not a myth. In fact, an Antifa individual took the life of an innocent Trump supporter in Portland. You have Rep. Ayanna Pressley saying that she wanted unrest in the streets. Chris Cuomo saying, show me where it says protesters are supposed to be peaceful. I'll give you an idea, Chris, it's the Constitution. Don Lemon saying, quote...
Actually, it doesn't say that in the Constitution. It's assembly, but you use the free speech and the right to assemble, but yes, I mean, I'd have to see the Cuomo quote, because I'm sure she's taken it out of context, which would never happen. This is the same party, by the way, who took a man with ALS and dubbed in his mechanical voice to make it sound like Biden wants to defund the police. If you haven't looked that up, go on Twitter. It's going to be one of the top trending subjects. They literally, Steve Scalise, the Republican leader in the minority whip, I think he's the whip right now, in the House, retweeted a fake commercial where they gave a man who has ALS and doesn't speak, so he uses one of those boxes to speak. They put words into his computer asking Biden if he should defund the police that he didn't say. Anyway, Twitter has taken that down, and Steve Scalise claims that he took it down, but you can actually go to that tweet, and Twitter has taken it down because it was manipulated media. But yeah,
The rioting has to stop, Chris, as you know, and I know it's showing up in the polls, it's showing up in the focus groups. It's the only thing right now that's sticking. So now all of a sudden, 90 days later, I from this podium have talked about law and order. The president has talked about law and order repeatedly, but because the polling has shifted, now it's time for the Democrats to deny what they said previously and all of a sudden focus on law and order. I'll leave you with this. That's like the arsonist blaming the firefighter.
Mic drop. Is it like the arsonist blaming the firefighter? I mean, Trump is the arsonist, so it's kind of hard to say. Really, why are we having these fires? Well, because police officers keep shooting minorities. That's really what started. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning. My stomach's churning thinking about this. Okay, so she asked OAN a question and then did the binder drop. I mean, this is just so predictable. Speaking of predictable, I'm going to let you guys go. I'll try and cover the Trump conference later on today. I don't know what else is going on. I got to bring a car in. I got to take Heavenly Daughter for a COVID test. I got to do the whole charity thing. So I've got a busy day ahead of me. Hopefully I'll see you guys later. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to support the broadcast, go to kevinleefather.com. And you can become a patron there, or you can send me money directly. I'm not even worried about that right now. More importantly, 1 month before the election, we will be doing a charity drive online for booksandbricks.org. They are a wonderful organization that sends kids to school in Kenya. Normally, they raise $45,000 a year at a charity dinner that they have. They cannot have the charity dinner this year because of COVID. You can't. I mean, yeah, the president can bring a bunch of people together and cram them into a room, but charities cannot because they don't want to kill. And this will be at a church, and of course, most of the members of the church are in a very high-risk group, so it would be a terrible idea to do this. So instead this year, October 3rd, Mean Girls Day, 1 month before the election, we're going to be raising money. If you feel like donating some money now because you're going to forget about it by October 3rd, please do so, booksandbricks.org. Everybody wear your face bras, be good to each other. Producer Joanna was telling me that she was calling people in Arizona, just randomly. Hey, this is producer Joanna. What's going on? Yeah? No, producer Joanna. No, I just want you to vote for Democrats. Yeah, no, so, okay, all right, fine. I will take a large pepperoni with, do we want sausage? Do you have vegan sausage? So Joanna did her part over the weekend, apparently. This is how I imagine it going. I don't honestly know what she was doing. But yeah, you can get involved with swing states. Honestly, if you're not in a swing state, don't waste your time canvassing in your own neighborhood. Our votes don't matter for president. But get out there, get involved. And again, if you want to donate to booksandbricks.org beforehand, all that money goes into the same pot. So please do. Someone was asking me, let me cover this before I let you go. Yes, my mother had a part in that charity before she passed on, Donna Riley Williams, and we'll go there. So this is booksandbricks.org. Here it comes. If you go to donate, which is on your phone, should be a bright red button. You can hit donate today and donate online now because there's an extra step right there. You can send in there. So right up at the very top, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this bigger or not. Give me a second here. Okay, I can. Cool. Right up at the very top. Okay, I need to do this though. Hold on. Stop. There, right there. Right up at the very top, Reverend Donna Riley Williams Memorial Scholarship Fund. That is my mom's portion of Books and Bricks. So if you donate in that box right there, she would be happy if she was still alive. Quite frankly, I would be happy if she was still alive. And she would probably be calling me nonstop like she used to, which honestly, I miss. So if your mom or dad are still around and they're calling you constantly, take a moment and say hello, because when they're gone, you're going to miss the hell out of that. Guys, have a great day. Booksandbricks.org. We will see you later.
helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what?